This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Jonna.
I'm Kripa, and today on the episode we look into the Russia-Ukraine war, which enters a dangerous new phase with increased hostilities. With the war in its fifth year now, there are more than 2 million military casualties already. As per a CSIS report, the number of Moscow's forces killed, wounded and missing are far higher than Kyiv's during the war. We'll get you the latest.
Also on World DNA, Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi will meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi today. During her first official visit to India, the three-day visit is expected to further strengthen the India-Japan special strategic and global partnership. We'll bring you the details on that. Let's start with the headlines first.
Russian missile and drone strikes on Kyiv cause fires and kill at least one person following earlier warnings of an incoming attack. The assault comes after President Zelensky warned of a massive attack and cut short a Dublin visit.
Iran's deputy foreign minister says Tehran will use some of its frozen assets in Qatar to buy essential goods after talks in Doha. Move follows US-Iran agreement, though the mechanism and timeline remains unclear even now.
Prime Minister Modi will hold summit talks today in New Delhi with Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi, who is on her first official visit to India. The leaders will review bilateral ties, discuss regional and global issues, sign deals with focus on economic security cooperation.
To Boeing, what's the best one? They said, this is the best plane ever built, and you're going to have the privilege of flying it.
Donald Trump takes his first flight on a new Air Force One gifted by Qatar, praises the aircraft as the greatest ever built, expresses excitement about the journey and says it reflects a modern upgrade for the presidency.
The US signs agreement to build new permanent embassy compound in Jerusalem, reinforcing its diplomatic presence in Israel. Officials describe the move as strengthening unbreakable alliance and reaffirm recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital.
A week after twin earthquakes devastate Venezuela, hopes of finding more survivors fades as the death toll nears 2,300, with tens of thousands still missing. The country faces worsening food shortages. Officials declare 7 days of national mourning.
Gunmen kill at least 15 people and injure several others in a nighttime attack on a village in Nigeria's Benue state. The region has long been affected by deadly clashes over land and insecurity involving armed forces.
South Korean stocks led a broad Asian market sell-off, with the Kospi plunging more than 5% and triggering a temporary trading halt. This came as renewed concerns over AI spending hammered chip makers and technology shares.
Belgium staged a dramatic comeback from 2 goals down to defeat Senegal 3-2 in extra time, with a controversial late penalty converted by Yuri Tielemans, securing victory and a place in the World Cup last 16. The Russia-Ukraine war has entered another dangerous phase with an escalated exchange of missile strikes and drone attacks, driving a new wave of destruction and reshaping the dynamics of the conflict.
After Ukraine struck deep inside Russia, and it has been doing so since a number of weeks now, targeting key energy infrastructure, Russian missiles and drones pounded Kyiv, igniting fires and injuring at least 5 people. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said earlier on Wednesday that he was rushing home from a visit to Dublin, and this was due to intelligence reports that Russia was about to launch a massive attack on Ukraine. He said Russian President Vladimir Putin has been preparing this massive strike against Ukraine for some time now.
More than a dozen explosions were heard in central and eastern Kyiv as residents with children and pets rushed into metro stations being used as shelters.
Earlier, Russia rained glide bombs on Ukrainian cities of Zaporizhia and Kharkiv. 1 person was killed in Kharkiv, 3 in Zaporizhia. These actions are framed as direct retaliation for Ukraine's escalating deep strikes inside Russia. Account shows over 50 reported attacks by Ukraine on oil refineries, depots, terminals in Russia and the illegally annexed Crimean Peninsula since March. Often the same facility was hit more than once, such as the refinery in the Black Sea town of Tuapse that was struck 4 times.
Now, the strikes have choked fuel supplies from across the vast country. Lines are growing at Russian gas stations, and so is the frustration and uncertainty.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has made a rare admission, acknowledging that there are shortages in fuel, that problems persist, that he insisted the shortages are not critical and they are temporary.
Reports even say Moscow has started seaborne imports of gasoline from India in an effort to mitigate shortages. What lies ahead for the war remains uncertain. So the question remains, will Putin blink? Amid this ongoing conflict, a new study has revealed the staggering human cost of the war. Research by a US think tank estimates that between 400,000 and 450,000 Russian troops have been killed since the invasion began in February 2022. The study also estimates that between 125,000 and 150,000 Ukrainian soldiers have lost their lives during the same period, highlighting the devastating toll of a war now in its 5th year.
And amid the escalating tensions with Taiwan, Chinese President Xi Jinping's ambition was on display yet again.
Addressing a gathering to mark the 105th anniversary of the Communist Party of China, or CPC, he issued a clarion call for the complete reunification of China. In a speech to political and military leaders, Xi stressed that resolving the Taiwan question and achieving the country's reunification is a historic mission and unshakable commitment for the CPC.
We attach great importance to our self-development, resolutely remove whatever undermines the party's purity and advanced nature, and rid ourselves of any virus that erodes the party's health, tempering ourselves through revolution and grown stronger.
Lauding the party's role in shaping global development over the past century, he also claimed that the party has always stood on the right side of history. As of the end of 2025, CPC had nearly 101.29 million members, showing a 1% growth as compared to 2024.
This is not all. While vowing to strengthen and modernize the military, he also resolved to get rid of anyone who undermines CCP's purity. This is being perceived as a reference to his ongoing corruption crackdown. Already, multiple senior military figures have been sacked. The shake-up has been so extensive that China's top military body is down from 7 to only 2 members, which includes Xi himself.
We must thoroughly implement the CPC's overall policy for resolving the Taiwan question in the new era, uphold the One China principle and the 1992 consensus, unite the Taiwan compatriots, deepen cross-strait exchanges, cooperation and integrated development, resolutely fight secessionists seeking Taiwan independence, oppose external interference and advance national reunification.
Xi Jinping's remarks come barely a day after Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te warned military cadets not to succumb to China's spying activities. Speaking at their graduation ceremony, he even urged cadets to oppose communism, uphold democracy, and insisted that Taiwan is not subordinate to China.
Well, tensions between China and Taiwan have risen after US announced weapon sales worth $11 billion to Taiwan, and this was in December last year. Since then, Chinese military activity around Taiwan has increased.
Well, last week, Taiwan's armed forces held 5 days of combat readiness drills, showcasing its range of weapons, including domestically developed Sky Sword 2 missile, portable drones, as well as US-made military equipment, including HIMARS launchers and other systems. As part of this, it conducted exercises simulating its response to a potential Chinese maritime blockade of Taiwan, wherein Beijing demands approval from ships to use Taiwanese ports.
The Chinese president's stance on Taiwan just goes to reiterate that fears of a fresh conflict cannot be understated. Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi will meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi today.
The 3-day visit of the Japanese Prime Minister is expected to strengthen the special strategic and global partnership between India and Japan, with a special focus on India's northeast region. Just before she arrived in New Delhi, she called India an indispensable partner in advancing her updated, free and open Indo-Pacific vision. That language matters because indispensable is diplomatic code for we need you now.
Well, currently China controls the lion's share of global rare earths, lithium and cobalt processing, and has shown its willingness to weaponize that dominance. Japan has spent a decade trying to de-risk its supply chains. This is where India's northeast becomes the gateway for Japan's pivot. India sits on 7.2 million tons of rare earth reserves, the world's third largest. Remember, that's the pivot point for Takaichi.
Now, at the India-Japan Annual Summit, concrete deals on joint exploration and processing are expected, and not just intent. The plan also includes a supply pipeline for EV batteries and defense hardware. Semiconductors are the second pillar. Japan wants India as a manufacturing base, not just a billion-plus consumer market. That's Japan's latest strategic shift, from selling to India to building in India for the world.
Well, reports quoting diplomatic sources show that both sides are building an industrial value chain connecting the Bay of Bengal and northeast India. So that plan potentially turns a historically underdeveloped frontier into a critical minerals and manufacturing corridor. This is the new geoeconomics. The numbers back the intent. About 1,400 Japanese companies operate in India, nearly half in manufacturing. So bilateral trade hit $27.5 billion in fiscal year 2025-26, with Japanese investment of $3.2 billion between April and December 2025 alone. Expect Takaichi's visit to produce a joint statement on economic security and a separate declaration on AI cooperation, alongside MOUs on batteries, pharma and critical minerals. So the India-Japan summit is now less about symbolism. It is more about supply chains and whether intent finally converts into contracts.
There's more on this on the Japanese Prime Minister's visit from our Assistant Director Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibbal, who sent us this report.
The Japan Prime Minister's India visit will focus on key issues like semiconductors, critical minerals and economic security. big ticket MOUs are expected, and a big focus is expected also on AI. Now, this is a visit that is part of the annual summit. Last year, the Indian Prime Minister had traveled to Japan, and this year, the Japanese Prime Minister travels to India. She, of course, is widely recognized as someone who is carrying the mantle of Shinzo Abe. Shinzo Abe, the former Prime Minister, had good camaraderie with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and no doubt this will be part of the conversations. But remember that India and Japan focus on a lot of issues, from investments to the Japanese role in infrastructure development in India, especially the bullet train, and of course in terms of the free and open Indo-Pacific policy of Japan and its convergence with India's Mahasagar policy. So there are several convergences, and both would like to send a message of jointness, and how both sides are on the same page at a time of increased geopolitical complexity in the world and in Asia. Siddhant Sibal for WION in New Delhi.
Fresh diplomatic efforts are underway to maintain the fragile ceasefire between the United States and Iran.
That's right. Qatar and Pakistan have concluded separate meetings with American and Iranian negotiators in Doha, with both mediators reporting positive progress on implementing the 14-point Memorandum of Understanding, which was aimed at ending the conflict. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Qasem Gharibabadi said the Doha discussions, they focused on concerns regarding the implementation of commitments under the memorandum. He said that Iran also held consultations with Qatari officials on the utilization of part of Iran's frozen financial assets held in Qatar. According to Gharibabadi, it was agreed that an initial $6 billion would be used to procure essential goods required by Iran in line with its stated needs. He even added that the funds are part of Iranian oil revenues held in restricted accounts in Qatar since 2023. Gharibabadi also said the issue of the U.S. failure to fulfill commitments in Lebanon was raised during the meeting.
Furthermore, Iranian officials confirmed that both sides have agreed to establish a communication mechanism to monitor and address any violations of the memorandum. According to Qatar's Foreign Ministry spokesperson Majid Al-Ansari, the discussions built on the outcomes of the Lake Lucerne summit and will resume after funeral ceremonies for Iran's former supreme leader.
Iranian Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf said IAEA inspectors will not be allowed access to bombed nuclear sites.
No matter what, access to sites that have been bombed and damaged cannot be granted. That is the law. No other access based on the law. Supreme National Security Council determined permissions for visiting these sites, and right now they have the right to visit just 2 sites, one in Bushehr and the reactor in Tehran. That's it. Access is there. We are committed to that.
Speaking to reporters as he departed for North Dakota to visit the newly built Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library, Trump said the new denuclearization process was moving along well and reiterated that Iran would not be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon.
As far as things are going, the denuclearization of Iran is moving along well. They've had very good meetings, and we'll see. We hit them very hard for 3 nights, as you know, but we're getting along very well. So I call it the denuclearization, and it's all taking place. It's all going well. I guess you could call it an attack on Iran so that they never have a nuclear weapon. So the oil price is now lower. The retail prices, the gasoline is coming down rapidly.
Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance defended the administration's military strategy at Naval Air Station Oceana, noting Iran's weakened military and delayed nuclear program. He stressed that future military action would follow clear objectives, while reaffirming that diplomacy remains the preferred path.
What did the President of the United States ask you to do? Something very discreet and very specific. Number one, he asked you to ensure that we destroyed Iran's conventional military. He asked you to destroy their nuclear program. And now, and trust me, I know because I look at the intelligence estimates, if you look at what our own intelligence says about their nuclear program, they are further away from developing a nuclear bomb than they have ever been since basically the last 20 or 30 years. And that is because of you and because of your hard work.
Eyewitness footage showed skies over Caracas turn deep red at sunset on Tuesday, and this was captured during ongoing rescue efforts after 2 earthquakes hit Venezuela last week.
Well, the government says the twin quakes killed over 2,000 people and injured thousands. There's more in these next devastating visuals. Please take a look.
Everyone is killing each other, fighting to get their food rations. This is like a cockfight. Yesterday they started throwing punches. Everything is madness here.
The government isn't helping. Here, neither the mayor, nor the government, nor Delcy Rodriguez, nor anyone. The ones helping us here are the people who come from outside. In fact, it rained last night, and all our clothes, all the belongings we had left got soaked, and the police and the officials they've sent here just stand around on the structures taking photos and making TikToks.
India's northeast is reeling from destruction and damage as the flood situation shows no signs of improvement.
4 people have died and extensive infrastructural damage has brought life to a standstill in Arunachal Pradesh. The deluge has left 1 person dead and affected at least 46,000 people in Assam. 2 major rivers, including the Brahmaputra, are flowing above the danger level, with damage to infrastructure reported in various parts of the state. More than 3,000 hectares remain under floodwaters.
Among the 6 districts of Assam, Dhemaji is the worst affected. Assam State Disaster Management Authority says close to 45,000 people are affected in this region alone, whereas 221 villages, including Nalbari, Dibrugarh, Chirang, Lakhimpur and Biswanath, are reeling under floodwaters.
Flood situation has deteriorated in neighbouring state of Arunachal Pradesh. Heavy rainfall causing flash floods and landslides batter the northeastern state, damaging roads, houses, bridges and public infrastructure.
Chief Minister Pema Khandu and Union Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Kiran Rijiju undertook an aerial and ground assessment of the flood-ravaged Kyiv district. The development came a day after Union Home Minister Amit Shah spoke to Khandu over the phone to take stock of the flood situation across the state. According to State Emergency Operations Centers, since 24th of June, around 90,500 people have been affected in 251 villages.
The monsoon fury has damaged several roads in Kyiv, Upper Siang, Lower Debang Valley. Many remain blocked or are under restoration. Rescue and relief operations are also continuing with the deployment of the NDRF, SDRF, State Police, Indian Air Force, Civil Aviation helicopters, as well as local volunteers. Well, 2 people climbed to the top of the Empire State Building spire in New York City, where they unfurled a large banner calling for world peace.
Well, the pair clung to the building's antenna, more than 1,450 feet above the streets of Manhattan, and apparently paused for a dramatic marriage proposal as well. There's more in these next visuals. Take a look. All right, viewers, this is World DNA. We are going to slip into a very short break, so please stay with us. And before we slip into this break, just a reminder to our viewers in India, you can watch all the 2026 FIFA World Cup matches on Z5. Tune in, catch all the action live.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. More than 200,000 civilian homes have been destroyed. This looks like it used to be a toy for a little girl. Can't but wonder while I'm walking between all of this rubble, how many lives were destroyed, how many kids were traumatized, how many women lost their families. If this isn't a war crime, then what is? From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Redi Francis for WION World is One.
Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is One.
In this rapidly changing world, is your health keeping pace? Best practices and breakthroughs busting the hype with real insights. The timeless power of yoga and ancient healing. Good food, good mood. Small steps, big impact. Your health matters. Only on WION World is One. Because nothing matters more.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION World is One.
Welcome back, viewers. This is World DNA with Kripa. I'm Shivan. Lots more to discuss on this side of the show. Let's start with the headlines.
Russian missile and drone strikes on Kyiv caused fires and killed at least 2 people following earlier warnings of an incoming attack. The assault comes after President Zelensky warned of a massive attack and cut short a Dublin visit.
Iran's deputy foreign minister says Tehran will use some of its frozen assets in Qatar to buy essential goods after talks in Doha. Move follows US-Iran agreement, though the mechanism and timeline remain unclear.
Prime Minister Modi will hold summit talks today in New Delhi with Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi, who is on her first official visit to India. The leaders will review bilateral ties, discuss regional and global issues, and sign deals with focus on economic security cooperation.
China's new ethnic unity law comes into effect despite criticism from Taiwan, the UN and rights group. Critics warn the law could further restrict freedoms and undermine the rights of ethnic minorities such as Uyghurs and Tibetans.
Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara finalizes country's first post-Assad parliament, set to begin its first session next week. Move marks key transition step, though its selection process draws criticism over lack of democratic legitimacy.
Said to Boeing, what's the best one? They said, this is the best plane ever built. And you're going to have the privilege of flying it.
Donald Trump takes his first flight on a new Air Force One gifted by Qatar. Praises the aircraft as the greatest ever built, expresses excitement about the journey, and says it reflects a modern upgrade for the presidency.
Rain lash Delhi NCR bringing relief from heat as IMD issues a yellow alert forecasting cloudy skies, moderate rain and strong winds. Temperatures drop significantly with monsoon set to advance further across north and central India.
Federal Reserve Chair Kevin Warsh reaffirmed the Fed's commitment to its 2% inflation target. He said the central bank will remain independent and will not signal future rate decisions despite pressure from President Trump.
Harry Kane scores a late double as England come from behind to beat DR Congo 2-1. Brian Sipenga gives DR Congo an early lead, but Kane strikes twice in the second half to secure England's win and a World Cup last 16 clash with co-hosts Mexico.
Protests across Pakistan-occupied Kashmir continue despite an extensive crackdown by the authorities.
The latest move to arrest Shaukat Nawaz made a prominent voice in the region and a senior leader of the Joint Awami Action Committee, or JAC. It has led to deep anger among the locals.
According to reports, Mir was detained in Dhirkot in a coordinated operation involving intelligence agencies, local police and the Pakistan Rangers before being shifted to Rawalpindi. The arrest reflects a shift in Islamabad's strategy.
After force failed to contain the unrest, the focus has now reportedly turned to targeting the movement's leadership in the hope of weakening the protests. So far, over 600 JAC leaders and workers have been arrested across the region. Protesters accuse the Pakistani military of dropping explosive drones on peaceful rallies.
Pakistan's National Assembly opposition leader Mahmood Khan Ashaqzai compared the suppression and reported killings in the region with the Jallianwala Bagh massacre by the British in 1919.
बिस्मिल्लाह गोलियां चलान कितने लोगों को मार 18 यूं को अपने मार दे अल्लाह के मेरे कश्मीर जैसी सेंसिटिव इलाके 18 इंसानों को अपने मार दे अब अगर और मारोगे ठीक है, एक और जलियांवाला बाग से एक और जलियांवाला बाग बना दो.
Earlier at a rally, Aman Khan, a senior JAC leader, had sent a strong message to Pakistan's military chief Asim Munir, telling him that Pakistan-occupied Kashmir is not part of Pakistan.
कश्मीर पाकिस्तान का हिस्सा नहीं है, कश्मीर पाकिस्तान की रियासत का हिस्सा नहीं है, ये पाकिस्तान का नहीं है.
Cases have been registered against JAAC leaders and others for sedition and disturbing public order. The JAAC and its supporters reject these charges as political vendetta. They maintain that their movement is based on a peaceful struggle for public rights and constitutional demands. Over the past several months, the region has witnessed allegations of heavy-handed action against demonstrators, including detentions, the use of force and intimidation.
However, instead of discouraging protesters, these measures are said to have strengthened public resolve, with demonstrations continuing across the region. The JAC has maintained that the movement is driven by the people and not by any one individual. The organization has also declared that the protests will continue even if its leaders are arrested. India has strongly condemned the reported demolition of the historic 125-year-old Gurdwara in Pakistan's Farrukhabad, calling it a targeted act of vandalism.
It called on the Pakistan government to bring those responsible to justice. Responding to media queries, India's Ministry of External Affairs said India is aware of reports that the historic Sri Guru Singh Sahib Gurdwara was demolished and that no meaningful action has been taken by local authorities. The statement added that it is not an isolated incident.
Now, the Ministry of External Affairs urged the Pakistani government to fulfill its obligation to ensure the safety, security and well-being of minority communities and their places of worship. It also called on Islamabad to put a decisive end to the prevailing environment of sectarian violence and religious intolerance in Pakistan.
Earlier, a delegation of the Delhi Sikh Gurdwara Management Committee met officials of the Ministry of External Affairs and sought the government's intervention in the matter. On Monday, a Sikh representative from Nankana Sahib in Pakistan has shared a video on social media claiming that the Gurdwara was demolished by unidentified persons last week. The site holds historical significance as one of the key centers from where Singh Sabha movement gained momentum. The movement, which began in Amritsar in 1873 and was formally established in Lahore in 1879, played a pivotal role in the revival of Sikh religious and cultural identity. The Jammu and Kashmir Police has launched Operation Hawk's Eye to strengthen security arrangements for the upcoming Amarnath Yatra.
This provides pilgrims with a comprehensive security cover from the skies to the ground. The Amarnath Yatra begins from July 3 and will go on till August 28. Senior Special Correspondent Idris Sloan has sent us this report. Take a look.
A multi-layered security grid has been established jointly by the Jammu and Kashmir Police, the Army, the Border Security Force, and other security agencies to ensure the safe passage of devotees throughout the pilgrimage. The security framework extends from the Bhagwati Nagar base camp in Jammu to the Nunwan in Pahalgam and Baltal base camps. Along the National Highway 44, the Army, BSF and Jammu and Kashmir Police are maintaining round-the-clock surveillance to secure the Yatra route. As pilgrims enter the Kashmir Valley through the Navyug tunnel, they come under the protection of Jammu and Kashmir Police. Operation Hawk's Eye by J&K Police is a coordinated security initiative designed to monitor and safeguard every stage of the pilgrimage in close coordination with all security agencies deployed for this year's Yatra. To further enhance security, dozens of newly constructed security bunkers have been established along the route from Kazigun to the Nunwan and Baltal base camps. Amarnath Yatra is starting on July 3rd, and security remains one of the major concerns for the authorities in Jammu and Kashmir. What we are seeing on the ground is that there have been new bunkers that have been made all across the route that leads to the base camps, whether it's in Sonmarg or whether it's in Pahalgam. We are right now in Anantnag district, which is the base camp from the Pahalgam side, where you can see in your visuals, not only have been the bunkers put in place here and extra deployment been made, but security forces carrying out searches of all the vehicles that are crossing towards Pahalgam and coming out of Pahalgam. As you can see, there is Jammu and Kashmir police, there are paramilitary forces, CRPF as well as BSF that we see on the ground, making sure that every nook and corner of the route for the Amarnath Yatra is completely sanitized. This is exactly the condition. This is the new bunker that has been put in place. It's a temporary bunker which will be placed all through the Yatra time across the routes of the Yatra from both Pahalgam as well as Sonmarg routes. And security personnel, the number of security personnel on the ground have also been increased, and according to the officials, over 100,000 security personnel have been deployed for the security of Amarnath Yatra. With video journalist Firoz Idris Loan for WION World is One.
Well, here are some of the top stories making headlines across India this hour. A toxic gas leak at a seafood processing facility in Tamil Nadu's Tiruvallur district has resulted in the deaths of 17 women workers. This was confirmed by the state government on Wednesday. The victims, who were employed at the private export unit, included women from 3 states, with 14 from Odisha, 2 from Assam and 1 from Jharkhand. The incident has now raised concerns over workplace safety at industrial facilities.
The annual Amarnath Yatra commenced in Jammu and Kashmir as Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha performed prayers and flagged off the first group of pilgrims. Authorities said arrangements for the pilgrimage have been completed, with government departments, security forces and langar organizers prepared to provide support and ensure a safe and hassle-free journey for devotees visiting the holy cave shrine.
Meghalaya's special intensive revision of electoral rolls got off to a strong start, with more than 1.19 lakh enumeration forms delivered to voters on the first day of the exercise. Chief Electoral Officer BDR Tiwari said booth-level officers carried out the door-to-door distribution drive on June 30, reaching 5.07% of the state's total electorate of 23.49 lakh voters. The exercise aims to verify voter details and ensure that eligible citizens are included, while preventing ineligible names from entering the electoral list.
The Chinese Communist Party is celebrating its 105th anniversary. The milestone comes as the party's total membership has crossed 101 million.
Well, when it was founded in 1921, the Chinese Communist Party had just over 50 members. To celebrate the feat, top brass of the CPC assembled at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Country's president and party's general secretary, Xi Jinping, was also present at the event.
But Xi Jinping extended greetings to all party members and said a journey of 105 years has fundamentally changed the future and the destiny of the Chinese people.
Today, under the party's leadership, the Chinese people are advancing Chinese modernization, creating a new form of human advancement and expanding the pathways for developing countries to achieve modernization. We are promoting the building of a community with a shared future for mankind, contributing Chinese wisdom, Chinese solutions, and Chinese strength to the resolution of major global issues.
Xi also reaffirmed his stance on Taiwan. Chinese President vowed to advance Taiwan's reunification. He called it a historic mission to which CCP remains committed.
Resolving the Taiwan question and achieving the complete reunification of the motherland is a historic mission to which our party remains committed and a shared aspiration of all the sons and daughters of the Chinese nation.
Now, as CCP celebrates a historic milestone, reports suggest that nearly 30% of its members are aged 61 or older, and this is the highest share in at least 5 years, up from just under 29% in 2024. At the same time, proportion of members aged 35 and below has fallen. It now stands at 22%, down from nearly a quarter in 2021.
This data point has raised concerns about oligarchy and gerontocracy. Chinese Communist Party has ironclad control over nation's wealth. The control spans from private firms to natural resources. The party asserts this control via regulatory oversight, even mixed ownership reform and financing. A Financial Times report shows that up to $124 trillion may flow from older to younger generations by 2048 in what's being called the largest movement of money in human history.
And on that front, Wall Street is nervous. In this next report, we decode the trends and the math behind the great wealth transfer. Take a look.
Tens of trillions of dollars are set to move across generations in the coming decades. The great wealth transfer is already running at roughly $1 trillion a year, and the clock just sped up. On the 1st of January this year, the first baby boomers turned 80. But here's the catch. This isn't a windfall for everyone. Roughly half of all transfers, about $62 trillion, will come from the top 2% of households. So the wealth transfer won't fix inequality. It risks hardwiring it for another generation. There's also a queue. Before money reaches children, an estimated $54 trillion will pass to spouses first, largely widowed women, who inherit due to longer life expectancy. That means millennials, often cast as the transfer's biggest beneficiaries, may not see real inflows until they are in their 50s or 60s. The generational math is shifting too. Gen X gets first crack with roughly $14 trillion over the next decade, while millennials are projected to inherit the most overall, around $46 trillion by 2048. Natix's data shows 78% of Asia-Pacific millennials want to actively beat the market, versus just 38% of boomers willing to take that risk. The asset mix is changing too. Younger investors are more open to crypto, private equity and direct investments than the blue chip and real estate heavy portfolios that their parents built. Home prices have risen over 400% since 1990, while incomes grew less than 200%. That means many younger people are locked out of the assets that boomers built their wealth upon. Business Bureau, WION World is One.
European Union Technology Chief Hanna Virkkunen has held talks with Apple CEO Tim Cook.
This is after a public dispute over the delayed rollout of Apple's AI-powered Siri in Europe. The discussions come as Apple and EU regulators remain at odds over the bloc's digital competition rules. The European Commission even said the call between Virkkunen and Tim Cook was constructive and covered issues of common interest. The talks followed a recent exchange of criticism over Apple's decision to delay its upgraded Siri AI for iPhone and iPad users in the European Union. Apple has said the European Union's Digital Markets Act has prevented it from launching some AI features in the region.
Well, the company argues the rules create challenges for maintaining the privacy security. and integration of its devices. The European Commission has rejected that claim, saying Apple has failed to develop the interoperability required under the Digital Markets Act. The law is designed to boost competition by requiring major technology companies to make their platforms more open to rivals.
Apple has also delayed other features in the EU, including iPhone mirroring to Mac, live translation with AirPods, and some location-based maps functions. The dispute has become part of a broader transatlantic debate over Europe's stricter regulation of big tech. And under the Digital Markets Act, companies found to have breached the rules, they can face fines of up to 10% of their global annual turnover. A fresh new glimpse of the much-awaited release Toxic, a fairy tale for grown-ups, has got everyone talking.
Well, the Yash starrer has witnessed a long journey. Toxic was initially expected to release in March, and this was before Dhurandhar announced its first installment that they would be returning with a sequel on the 19th of March 2026. Now, after months of speculation and a rapidly shifting release calendar, makers announced that the Yash starrer will release on the 26th of August 2026. The strategic move highlights a growing reality in the modern Indian film industry, the sheer economic gravity of the overseas market. Earlier this year, the film's producers cited ongoing geopolitical tensions in West Asia as the primary catalyst for the delay. For modern mega-budget spectacles, the market has evolved into an indispensable revenue stream.
While West Asian markets are vital to a successful international rollout, a select few cinematic juggernauts have recently proven that exceptional domestic momentum can override regional limitations. Aditya Dhar's Dhurandhar dominated 2025 by grossing over rupees 1,350 crore, which is nearly $140 million globally. Its sequel, Dhurandhar The Revenge, earned rupees 1,852 crore, that is nearly $190 million. It continues to remain one of the highest grossing movies of 2026 in India, and notably, both the films successfully achieved the rupees 1,000 crore marks. That is nearly $120 million milestone despite facing outright bans in West Asia. This unprecedented box office success continues to remain a rare moment for Indian cinema, that is in recent times.
By shifting Toxic to a safer, undisputed August release, Yash's team is actively refusing to test those odds. The delay ensures that the sprawling star-studded ensemble featuring Nayanthara, Kiara Advani and Huma Qureshi secures an unencumbered path to maximizing its global footprint across all international territories.
Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal is set to take on Croatia in the round of 32 clash at the FIFA World Cup.
Two European footballing giants go head-to-head in Toronto. Portugal reached the knockout stages after finishing second in Group K. After a 1-1 draw with DR Congo, Portugal thrashed Uzbekistan 5-0. But a goalless draw against Colombia meant Portugal had to settle for second position of the group, despite going unbeaten in the group stage. Portugal have come under scrutiny for their lack of consistency in the group stage. The spotlight will once again be on 41-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, who could be playing his last match at the World Cup. Ronaldo did score twice against Uzbekistan in the group stages, but struggled for fluency against DRC and Colombia.
Meanwhile, Croatia are a force to be reckoned with after a defeat to England. Back-to-back wins saw them qualify for the knockout stages. Croatia reached the final in 2018 and finished third in 2022. Like Ronaldo, Luka Modric is a legend for his nation. The result could mark the end of an era for one of these two greats of the game.
All right, viewers, that's a wrap on this edition of World DNA. We are going to be slipping to a very short break. Just a reminder before that, to all our viewers in India, you can watch all 2026 FIFA World Cup matches on Z5. Tune in, catch all the action live. This is WION World is One. Please stay with us.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify.